This is Living Forest. In this game, you the players embody the spirits of the forest, and it's your job to protect it from the flames of the Onibi, the ghostly fire that threatens to consume the forest and all of the creatures within it. The first player to meet one of 3 distinct victory conditions, putting out fire, planting trees, or collecting sacred flowers, is the winner. The components here are pretty good, and at the price point, which we'll get to later, are actually rather impressive. Is it as super deluxe as some of the other games that we've featured here recently? Well, no. But then buying this game won't require you to remortgage your house either. There's plenty of thick cardboard tokens and tiles, some character standees, a circular central board, as well as individual player mats, all of a good enough quality to stand up to plenty of playtime. As this is at least in part a deck building game, you'll also get well over 100 decent quality cards with some really charming art. The art design in general is really lovely. Yes, there's a ton of green everywhere, but at least that's thematically appropriate. You're in a forest. There are also some really wonderful quality of life inclusions here in the production, such as holders for the tiles, as well as individual spaces to place the various decks of the game, which keeps the play area really nicely organized. Living Forest has a really fun and standout combination of mechanisms that we've really not seen before in this kind of framework. At its core, you've got deck building combined with push your luck. Everyone starts with the same set of 14 cards, and on your turn you're going to be drawing and playing as many cards as you like from your deck to generate the elements that you need to help you take actions. The more of a certain element that you can generate, the more effective its associated action will be. Sun lets you buy new cards to add to your deck. Water lets you take fire tokens from the central board. Sprouts let you plant trees. And flowers, well, they just let you win. And then you've got wind, which is just weird. Wind lets you dance around the magical sacred tree that's on fire in the middle of the board. And if you bounce over your opponents, you can steal tiles from them that will help you win the game. Until, of course, they also generate wind, chase you, bounce over you, and steal them back from you, like some sort of acid-fueled Benny Hill chase scene. So what's the catch? Why wouldn't you just play all of the cards from your deck every time on every turn? Well, I'll tell you. Your deck also contains solitary animals. And if you draw 3 of those on your turn, then you'll go bust and you must stop playing cards. And what's more, you'll only get to take 1 action instead of the normal 2. The theme is a fantastical delight and certainly isn't particularly serious. It's breezy and accessible, and despite it ostensibly being based on Japanese mythology, it's a really light wash and doesn't let any particular thematic item get in the way of just having a good time. The mechanisms stand up incredibly well on their own. The interesting theme is just a lovely addition. I might confuse you a bit here by saying it's not really a simple game, but then it's not really a weighty game either. It sits in this grey area between light and midweight in that there's plenty enough to think about here strategically, but in a way that isn't particularly overbearing in its rule set. It might fall through the cracks in being too complicated for some and not complicated enough for others, but we think it's actually just a brilliant design that's well worth the small amount of investment of effort for more casual players to learn. We love how Living Forest manages to walk the tightrope between accessible and deep, and how it seamlessly interlocks its 3 victory conditions within the framework of the game. There are some genuinely unique ideas in here that all interact in a fascinating way. The game plays great at 2, 3 and 4 players, and we'd recommend it at pretty much any player count. We think it's probably best at 4 players, if only for the increased amount of interaction that you'll get. The only small trade-off there is that you'll slightly extend the playtime. Living Forest sits in a bracket that Pegasus-Spiel calls Family Weight Plus, which is a pretty apt way of describing it and gives you a great idea of who the game is for. It's absolutely perfect for families who play a lot of board games. We think it has a remarkably broad appeal in that gamers can find plenty to enjoy here too. We picked this game up for just £24, which is staggeringly good value, and for our money is pretty much the best value release in years. It's a truly fantastic game with a surprisingly good production at that price point. It's also been the beneficiary of some really significant industry awards, such as the Kennerspiel Jahres. And at £24, it's almost a risk-free purchase, with the only real risk being getting burned by the Untitled.